Dolphins GM John Eric Sullivan and Coach Jeff Hafley are making moves, but do you have faith that Sullivan, a rookie GM, and Hafley, a rookie coach, are making the right moves? What's going on, everybody? This is Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk. Welcome to this week's edition. We are having some serious technical difficulties. We're going to try and make it through this edition. Sentinel Dolphins writer. Feronis, what do you think of everything that's going on right now with Sullivan and Hafley? Are you excited about it? Do you have faith in them? What are you feeling here?
Yeah, I think you do have to carry on with some excitement. It's going to be a new era, out with the old and with the new. It might take some time. You know, you're not going to see the immediate dividends of it, but it's going to be a new era. We still on? Oh. All right, so we got Perk fixing some technical difficulties. I don't know if some of the audio issues were coming along on your end to the audience, but we're going to talk about a lot of things this early offseason with the Dolphins. Sully and Half making their moves. The recent cuts that you saw, as we reported on, Big Monday cut down with first it started with Bradley Chubb, then the avalanche started of Tyreek Hill and James Daniels and Nick Westbrook-Akine all getting cut, and we'll talk about those, analyze those moves, whether the Dolphins are how the Dolphins should handle this Tua situation, because he, of course, is the one that is waiting in the wings here, as the Dolphins may be looking to trade him, is what we expect, and then possibly then we'll determine whether it's a pre-June 1 cut, post-June 1 cut, probably have to move on from him, or whether they do at all, which I think we'll both be leaning that they should. And if the recent moves have changed up on our opinion. Let's see, are we getting Perk back?
Yeah, you got me back now?
Oh.
All right. All right, you got me back now. All right, yeah, this is a bumpy ride. I told you guys it's going to be a bumpy ride. But yeah, as Feronis said,
As in we're off now?
okay, can you guys hear me? Okay, all right, you got me? Okay, all right. Okay, all right, so Feronis, again, we apologize. Feronis, with all the moves that the Dolphins have made here, cutting Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb will be cut, James Daniels, NWI, the wide receiver, Nick Westbrook-Akine. I thought the James Daniels move sent a good message, as far as, there were whispers that they wanted James Daniels to return last season and that he didn't want to return. So it's kind of a, if you don't want to be here, you're not going to be here type of message with that one. With Chubb, I thought it was a financial message. With Tyreek, I thought it was a financial message. What did you make of those cuts?
Yeah, I think all moves that were expected. With Tyreek, whether it was the old regime or the new regime, whether he got hurt or didn't get hurt, we all figured this would happen this offseason. Once he did receive those added guarantees to his previous contract back ahead of the 2024 season, a time coming off the success of 2023, albeit without a playoff win to show for it, that turned out to be the downfall of the previous regime when you talk about Tyreek got extended, Tua got extended, Mike McDaniel was extended. They appeased Jalen Ramsey right before the season because he saw everyone else was taken care of. And then in the end, they all disappointed you, either by performance or by injury or attitude in Ramsey's case. Waddle also got his extension, and he's been kind of just okay for the money. He was more productive in his first 3 seasons. But when it comes to these moves, big money saving, especially with Tyreek, and you rid yourself of the constant off-the-field trouble with him as the new regime tries to establish culture. Bradley Chubb always seemed would be this way after last year's restructure to get him back after missing 2024, rehabbing his knee. Good for him that he had a successful season and can take that into free agency and join a contender that needs a pass rusher, let's say. James Daniels, I mean, he played just 3 snaps last season. According to our Dave Hyde, he didn't want to return after his pectoral injury. And that after he rehabbed a torn Achilles the previous year with Pittsburgh. Nick Westbrook-Akine didn't make an impact after he had 9 touchdowns for Tennessee in 2024. No need for the new regime to keep him around.
And Feronis, so that's how we know they're thinking a little bit from those moves. Let's talk about how they might be thinking in the future. And really, we're talking Minkah Fitzpatrick and Austin Jackson. We've seen a report that they've engaged in trade talks with Minkah's agent, and you will talk about that later as you talk about going to the combine and what the advantages are for the Dolphins at the combine. We would think that trade talks always go on during the league, during the combine, and I think that his name will definitely come up. So what do you think the Dolphins will and should do with Minkah and Austin Jackson?
Yeah, I think it's try to trade first, especially in the Minkah case. I mean, Austin Jackson, I could see it as well. Then you start going down the road of a cut, and whether it might be a pre or post June 1. I know you save more money, at least in Austin Jackson's case, if it's post June 1. Probably with Minkah, you want to find a trade partner anyway, especially since he might be a more desirable piece for any contending team that might need someone in the back end, actually a versatile DB now. We've always known him to be a safety, but you saw how much he played in the nickel last year. So a contending team can do a lot of things with a veteran Minkah Fitzpatrick, former all-pro, and put him in there. So you have to determine with the post-June 1 cuts if Tua will be one of those if you can't move off of him via trade, if Bradley Chubb will end up being one of those once that move is official. It could be Jackson. So find out how they'll use those 2 designated post-June 1 cuts that the Dolphins and John Eric Sullivan have at their disposal.
Yeah, if I'm them, I'm probably trading Minkah because it kind of appeared that Minkah didn't want to be here last year. That was just kind of my outsider's glimpse of the situation from watching him, in the locker room and his interactions with us. With Austin Jackson, I would keep Austin Jackson and cross my fingers that the guy stays healthy. I wouldn't want to open up another spot on the offensive line when you've already got the right guard position right next to Austin Jackson that will be vacant going into camp. And left guard, you don't know what Jonah Savaiinaya is going to turn into this season. So I would keep Austin Jackson right there. I would look for the backup right tackle. As far as Tua, we'll touch on this because we're going to get into that in our next segment. But with Tua and looking ahead to Aaron Brewer and Jordan Brooks, I just wrote yesterday that I'm in favor of extending Brooks and Brewer. I like their mentality. I like their on-field play. I like their leadership. I like everything about those 2 guys. So I would extend them. I would cut Tua. I would make Tua a post-June 1st cut. And the reason I wouldn't do Tua all in 1 year, that $99 million does not allow you to upgrade this season. I would try to upgrade incrementally this season and next season. You're not going to get the top free agent on the market, obviously, but you do need to keep upgrading, incrementally as you can. So that's how I would handle those. What do you think, Feronis?
Yeah, with Austin Jackson, I mean, there's questions because now it's a new regime. They're not. This isn't Chris Greer, who was tied to him, making him a first round pick back in 2020. So John Eric Sullivan. I mean, we have to get an idea of how he actually feels about him specifically, but it's not his guy. And then he's a player who has moved from left tackle, was kicked inside the left guard his second season, has been at right tackle since. Had a peak moment where then he was able to lock in an extension, but then injury issues resurfaced once again, and we saw it just last season. So how are they going to view it as far as keeping him around? And then, this is one of those situations where the draft, just the timeline of the offseason comes with the draft coming after free agency. So then you don't know, if let's say, for some reason, I don't think Francis Mauigoa is going to drop this far, but if Francis Mauigoa was available to you and he's played right tackle in college at Miami, then I think you jump on him as quickly as possible. But, it doesn't have to be him. Let's just say you find your adequate right tackle when you already had Patrick Paul at left tackle. Then are you really trying to keep Austin Jackson around if you're this new regime? It depends some on how they are able to build in the draft. But I could see a scenario either way. And Austin Jackson's just a great guy. I'm sure he'll leave a strong impression on the new staff once they get to talk to him, if they haven't already.
Yeah. Austin is a guy who seems like he wants to be here. So that, I would give him points for that. Before we migrate on to segment 2, want to say what's up to Billy Batson, Ender Fireplays, YT, Dead Streak, Fitzgrass checking in from Naples as usual. CLD 170 checking in from Orlando. Carl Beckert, who's usually checking in from Seguin, I believe, Texas. Green Glow Docklight. What's going on to everybody out there? Carl Beckert says, can't wait for post-June 1st and get rid of Tua, the final piece of the other two clowns. Feronis, that leads us into segment 2. Has your thinking on Tua changed? And, really, as I said, I think Tua should be a post-June 1st cut. Divide the money up into, the 67 this year, the 32 next year. Do you think Tua should be cut? Do you think Tua should be brought back here and given a chance to start? Do you think Tua should be brought back here as the backup?
Well, I think in any scenario, I don't see him returning to the Dolphins in 2026 for the 2026 season. So I see where a scenario where they're trying to trade him first, see what they can get or how much money they have to put up in order to execute a trade, let's say, because you're not really getting teams that are going to send you a haul of draft picks for Tua and to take on his contract. So you're going to have to take on a big chunk of that money. Maybe if it works better than what you would have to take on with a cut, whether it be pre or post June 1. If not, then I do agree with the post June 1 thinking. And I think that is part of the reason in the holdup and making the Bradley Chubb move official. I don't know this to be fact, but I think it just makes sense that you've already explained, you've already communicated to Bradley Chubb. He's been notified that he is indeed going to be released. But of the 4 that we know of right now, he's the one that hasn't been made official. I think those two, it's no coincidence, I'll say. I think they go hand in hand, possibly. So wait to see what you can do with Tua in terms of a trade. And then if not, I do like the post-June 1 cut method, splitting it up. It's still mostly this year, which is fine. Go ahead and take the pill right now. Just swallow it. And take on the money this year, which it's at least manageable if you make it post June 1 to just get salary cap compliant. Make sure you get through this year under the cap, and then you don't have a lot of 2027 cap commitments anyway, so you can take on that extra what's left over, 23 or something, whatever the number is, for 27. So you can take that on, and I don't think you're going to be super aggressive yet in free agency in 2027. I think you want a couple of draft classes at least. where that's how you're building your roster. Get yourself a couple of years where you're established to a certain point, and then you start to become a little bit more aggressive in free agency, where then by 26, 27, 28 offseason, you might be in a position where you could go ahead and get aggressive in free agency with some salary.
Right. I agree. I want to say what's up to JD the Great. Want to say what's up to True Blazer, saying this is Fish Tank Perk, LOL. He's right. There's a joke there that every time I'm on the fish tank with Seth Levitt and OJ McDuffie, I have internet issues. I'm okay on this show usually, but you're right. You're exactly right. That is Fish Tank Perk. Want to say what's up to Bugsy. Want to say what's up to Richard Duff, Bigote 1775, J Boy 9256, Luis Cuban USA. Let's see. We had there was one here that I wanted to read from, and it was winner. Oh, CLD 170. It was something about when are we going to find out what's wrong with Tua? Oh, I hope we do get the word on what exactly is wrong with Tua. Feronis, I find that interesting because as we talk about trade value for Tua and possible trade partners, if Tua is kind of damaged goods, either from his previous injuries or because he's lost confidence, that's another major trade hurdle in addition to his contract, right? Do you think there's any truth to any of that his previous injuries have damaged him or he's lost his confidence? I think Tua can get back to being the Tua that we knew, but without Tyreek. I think losing Tyreek was the big thing for Tua. What are your thoughts on what was wrong with Tua late last season?
Yeah, losing Tyreek is a difficult obstacle to get over. When you look at Tua, those are two things that we've known of him in his past already. The injury concerns. He's had a number of injuries, not just the concussions, but a couple of hip injuries, one that's cut his college career short at Alabama, the one that cut his 2024 season short. You have the ankle injury from the end of his time, or second year at Alabama. A couple of finger injuries, so all that to boot with the concussions. So we know he's had the injury concerns, and those take a tax on your body. And then also in the past, he has had those confidence questions come into play, where as he moved off of the Brian Flores era, then Mike McDaniel had to rebuild his confidence. Which then also takes me to the next part, which is we have also seen Tua rebound from these things one time where he built himself back up in 22 and then to make a Pro Bowl in 23 where he was also fully healthy. So appeased both of those concerns, both the injury question, which also he did last season. He was not injured. It was due to performance. It was the interceptions. It was Mike McDaniel saying, stop throwing picks. And eventually Tua's getting benched for Quinn Ewers. So and Bobby Slowick said it last time we spoke to Dolphins coaches and we were in the building is, he thinks he can rebound. So, I mean, for him, I look at, like, let's say an Atlanta Falcons situation where if they're moving off of Kirk Cousins, you can go and let him be that backup to Michael Penix, where if Penix does not pan out in his next season, then you can go ahead and say, all right, well, he can be a Ryan Tannehill story, the way Ryan Tannehill jumped in for Mariota in Tennessee and found some success there. So especially, hey, they'll be consistent with left-handed quarterbacks, both at QB1 and QB2. So I think it all adds up there. I'll start charging at the Atlanta Falcons building for my recommendations after the show.
That's right. On the topic of quarterbacks here, Luis Cuban USA, Kyler Murray or Malik Willis. If you're choosing between those two, that's another smallish quarterback, right? You had Tua. We know Kyler is small. Malik is 6'1", 220. Do you have any thoughts on? I say neither. I say neither unless you can get either on a 1-year deal. I'm not ready to marry either of those guys. Kyler Murray or Malik Willis, David Feronis?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to go down the same road. Now, Malik Willis, I feel like if you can get him at a bargain, then yes. but the word is that he's going to command a significant salary. And what that means, I don't know. At least going to the 30 million. Maybe a team is willing to pay 40 million. That's a huge price tag. The Dolphins aren't going to do all that. So especially when Sullivan is not going to be aggressive in free agency. So you have the previous ties to Green Bay. So I think if I'm Sullivan and Halfley, I feel like you would want him, but only at a reasonable price tag. Don't go and burn your 26 money or have to commit to years down the road when you want to make sure you have flexibility down the line and possibly be able to draft your next quarterback in 27 or in the middle rounds of 26 as well, as I'm sure they'll be adding plenty of quarterbacks. It might be a mid to late round quarterback this year's draft to compete with Quinn Ewers, and then someone wins that, and then maybe you're still in a position. Maybe you found someone, or you're in a position where then you get your big time quarterback. You go in the first round in 27 and find your next quarterback. So there's different ways it can go, but Malik Willis only if it's a bargain, which might be difficult with the quarterback hungry teams that might want to bring him in.
Yeah, I agree with that analysis. I'm really leaning strongly toward getting your quarterback of the future, your long-term quarterback in 2027. I've written that, and I keep leaning more strongly in that direction. Fitzgrass says, stay away from this class of QBs. Bigote 1775 says, pass on Malik Willis. Feronis, what is the downside to not getting the quarterback this year? Because I know there's a lot of people out there who think, no, you've got to get Malik. And look, I will obviously defer to John Eric Sullivan and Jeff Halfley because they were with Malik Willis in Green Bay. If that's what they think, okay, I'll ride with it for a multi-year deal. But I'm just saying I'm not in favor of it, but they know more football than I do. They know way more Malik Willis than I do. So I would defer to them. But look, my thing, Feronis, for this year is build the trenches and build your defense and get your quarterback next year. Is there a bridge quarterback, a 1-year fix, and kind of putting your quarterback eggs in the 2027 basket?
No, I like the idea of building your team first. Build a team, and then that way, when you have your long-term quarterback, he doesn't have to go into a situation where everything is difficult for him starting off. Like it is for Cam Ward in Tennessee. Right. I'm sure there's so many examples. Build a team, get the trenches right. You have some foundational pieces where and you can develop those 3 rookie D linemen that the previous regime had drafted last year that will go into year 2 on the offensive line. You have Aaron Brewer at center, and you can extend as you've written. You have Patrick Paul 2 years at left tackle. Develop some of those pieces. Find maybe your young corner. I know Mansour Delane of LSU is a hot pick. Was your mock pick. So if you start to get some of these pieces at the premium positions, then you can put your quarterback in a good position, especially if it's either HN in the backfield or you've really solidified the run game. And if you have a Waddle and maybe another receiver who you've added either like second round or mid rounds, then you'll have the pieces around this quarterback so that the quarterback can succeed. And maybe even one of these, if it's Quinn Ewers and whoever competes with them, they can rise and show themselves that they deserve their own shot. And then even better, you can just continue team building and you found your quarterback.
Feronis, before we get into our Feronis bonus, which is going to be on the combine, which is one of our top 3 segments on this 3-segment show today.
We moved up.
Let me ask you this. That's it. Routes and not preparing for the game because of Mike McDaniel locker room culture. Let me ask you something. John Eric Sullivan and Jeff Halfley and culture. how much should they pay attention to that? I think Brewer and Brooks would be good culture guys. Perhaps Austin Jackson, Alec Ingold, who they could cut, would be a good culture guy. Maybe Minka might not, just looking at his body language from last season. How aware should they be of culture, or is this just, we're cutting payroll and getting the best talent we can in here, and we'll take care of that culture thing when we're ready to compete? What do you think should be I guess their tolerance level of culture, or how should they prioritize culture?
Yeah, combination on that probably. There are probably some glue guys like you've heard, like maybe you hear it. I know it's a basketball term, like you would hear with Shane Battier when he was with the Big Three Heat. Like Alec Ingold can be one of those glue guys, and Bobby Slowick does want to use the fullback in this offense as he continues to build on the Shanahan offense. It's already been here with Mike McDaniel. So I think, he might stick around just for that reason, even if maybe his play has taken a step back as he gets older. But you can still utilize him and bring that culture. And then I think culture is established with you have a few draft classes of your own guys, of the guys that you brought in. And then some of the young ones already on this roster, then they're still in a place where they can be groomed a certain way. They are that they're being raised in the NFL because they only have like that 1 year of a previous regime. I think of like Jalen Waddle only had 1 year of Brian Flores era, and then he comes in. I was talking about it with Big O, and then Tyreek Hill is his immediate influence, starting with year two. And I think Waddle is his own guy. In his own right, so it's not like he went and like shaped himself to be like Tyreek Hill, but it's just a matter of how you can still be sort of molded a little bit as you're a couple years in the league. When you're a Minka Fitzpatrick, a Jalen Ramsey, you've been in the league so many years, and maybe you've seen different systems. I guess Minka started off with the Dolphins, and then he was under Mike Tomlin for all those years. Jalen Ramsey, Jacksonville, the Rams, wins the Super Bowl. Maybe he doesn't entirely buy into Mike McDaniel when he's seen what the ultimate success looks like. But you can still shape some of these young guys.
Yeah, I agree. And I do think culture is very important. J-Boy says culture equals standards. The standard starts day one. Bigote 1775 says B Chubb preached culture change, and he's laughing because B Chubb is the hell out of here. But that was a salary thing more than an attitude thing.
No, Bradley Chubb is culture. Bradley Chubb has the right culture, so he would bring the right culture if he was around. But
right, yeah, if he was came at a cheaper salary, he would be bringing that culture. But it wasn't worth it at that salary.
Yeah, the culture is more valuable at a lower price.
That's there you go. That's the NFL way. Right there, baby. That's the NFL way. All right. We know David Feronis has a combine on this 3-segment show. Brace yourself. It is time for the Feronis bonus.
Oh, the Feronis bonus.
All right, baby. I like it. So, Feronis, you're making your annual trip to Indianapolis. Look, we know the Combine has a lot of advantages, right? That the players get to actually work out in front of the teams. The team doctors get to put their hands on the players. The teams have interviews with the players. The teams talk to agents about the many combines. Tell me, what do you think is the overall benefit for the team, for the player, and how do you think the Dolphins will directly benefit from the 2026 Combine in Indianapolis next week?
Well, first of all, I'm very glad that your audio did not give out there. I was worried for a second because there was a couple seconds there where I wasn't hearing you. It gave me flashbacks to 30 minutes ago as we were trying to start the show and it wasn't working. But then it came through right then to introduce the Feronis bonus. At least to me, I hope that everyone else was able to hear it as well. We made it. So for the Combine, always an exciting time early in the off season. First, I'll start from the reporter perspective. It's really just that you're out in Indianapolis, where it's such a great downtown Indy is such a great hub for. It's a big convention city, but it's so perfect for an event like the Combine, where it's really like this huge NFL convention that takes over the entire downtown Indianapolis. It's just kind of like a compact downtown. It's not like some of the bigger cities you think of, but that's central downtown area of Indianapolis has enough of a like an infrastructure so that you can set up an event like this, and everywhere you go, there are people from the NFL. I've gone out at night, and a couple of the bars there, you'll always see some of the same folks who are always out. You might be able to talk to some of them, do some networking, find some agents, find some high-ranking officials within different organizations, other media people from around cover all the teams in the NFL. You make friends with these media folks, and then maybe get some of their perspective on what they hear from the teams that they cover. And then you always come away, especially since this is a couple weeks before free agency, with all these tidbits on both what franchises are scouting at the Combine, what who's moving up as far as coaches. You see like someone who just got a promotion, then other coaches that they've had previous alliances with. You see them interact. Maybe they hadn't seen each other for a couple of years. They're congratulating them on, you just moved up to the coordinator ranks, or I see you're getting some of these head coaching looks and things like that. So you like to see how it's just like everyone's just taking that next step, and it's another offseason, and you start to get into the scouting. You start to hear these free agency tidbits, because in a couple of weeks' time, then that's where all the big free agency news is going to start coming in. Maybe for the Dolphins, it'll be less so that, and less so about the conversations for extensions. There are a few guys like Achane and Brooks and Brewer, but it'll be more so about what the Combine is truly intended for, which is, at its heart, the scouting of these draft prospects. So the interviews are obviously a big deal, where teams get a chance to get to know these players. I know the 4 years of covering the Mike McDaniel era, it was kind of like every single time prospects who, if you asked them about their interviews with the Dolphins, they would rave about it, because Mike McDaniel was a fun guy. And then I think that kind of permeated through the rest of the coaching staff, where they always enjoyed their time talking to the Dolphins. So I'll wonder if with the new regime, and Hafley does have some previous connections to McDaniel, like with Shanahan. They were in San Francisco together for a couple of years there. Different sides of the ball, but how much is it like the Green Bay way with Sullivan and Half coming over, and what the difference is as far as prospects interviewing with the team, and then just get an idea of, because we'll actually talk to Sullivan and Hafley, the reporters that cover the team. And get an idea, get more specifics. So, they had their introductory press conference, and Hafley introduced his coordinators to us another week or so after. But now let's get down to the nitty gritty. Let's find out some specifics on what their plan is, not just like this broad, general culture talk. Let's start to find out. Let's hear now Sullivan answer the Tua question. Depending on if a resolution is found in the week or so, in the next week before we get out to the Combine. So let's start to get some of these answers and figure out what their plan is for the future.
Feronis, let me ask you this, because the name Ty Simpson, the Alabama quarterback, could come up for the Dolphins at the Combine. Either the Dolphins might like what they see from Ty Simpson, the Dolphins who have the number 11 pick and need at quarterback, or maybe Ty Simpson does well and it creates a market for Ty Simpson and the Dolphins can trade down. How much do you think the Dolphins will pay attention to Ty Simpson for either one of those reasons, or maybe some other reason?
I think you have to do your due diligence. So, I'm not married to saying, all right, go find your quarterback right now in the draft. And we still have to see what happens in free agency. Do they end up making a move for Malik Willis? And then you're certainly less likely to go first-round quarterback if you do. But I think you do your due diligence. And then if you fall in love with him, then totally, go for it. If you fall in love with him, if you really just think, okay, he really is someone who you can build around. But other than that, then I would prefer to go the team building route first, and then maybe find one of the other quarterbacks, because if you scout the rest of the quarterbacks in this class, especially Sullivan coming from Green Bay with their track record of finding quarterbacks, I'm sure that you'll find someone that you say, you know what, there's better value here if we take so-and-so with one of our 3 third-round picks. If it's a Garrett Nussmeier, just to throw a name out, someone like that who might go in those rounds. So I would say, yeah, scout depth in this draft to then maybe find a better value pick. And then if Ty Simpson I like what you're saying too, is that if there's a trade market, then I'm sorry, if his stock is up, then you could find maybe a trade, some trade value with all that hoopla going on, possibly.
All right, Feronis, as we get out of here, and we want to thank everybody for sticking with us on this edition through the technical difficulties that we had earlier. I had somebody before who was.
But you know what, Perk? You know what, Perk? We made it through. I'll say we were kind of like the past 2 Dolphins teams. Well, we started like 2-6 and 2-7 here. All right, like with those audio difficulties, we were a solid 1-6, 2-7 start, and then we went on a little win streak there, and we still fell short of the playoffs, but we came away with some positive takes from this show.
Exactly. So that's a very good summation of this show. We did fall short of the playoffs, damn it. Let me ask you this: 2 things. Somebody had asked who is going to be the next major move, and Pete's Takes. Welcome, Pete's Takes. Welcome, Box and Bill. Pete's Takes says, so I can't wait to the news, to hear the news that says Tua isn't going anywhere. He's our top flight backup quarterback. I think the next major move is probably going to be Minka as far as major move. Jason Sanders, if that happens, if he's cut, I don't think that's major. I think Minka.
Oh yeah, we didn't touch on Jason Sanders, but I mean, I think you saved nearly $4 million. He's the previous regime's quarterback. I think that's an easy decision. So I feel like that's got to happen. Yeah.
And Riley Patterson takes over. So who do you think is the next major move for the Dolphins? And do you think there is any way that Tua stays? I know you said that before, but Pete Takes is saying, I can't wait to hear that news. I don't think there is any way. And again, I think that Minka is the next major move. How about you?
Yeah, so you want your backup quarterback to be carry a cap number of $56.2 million for 2026. Now, I know you're going to pay one way or the other, whether it's dead cap, whether it's split over the next 2 seasons, whether you're paying a large chunk of it to a team that you trade them to. Yeah, you're going to pay for it one way or the other. But then if Tua's sticking around the same organization as the backup quarterback, I'd be concerned about what that creates, because he already said it'd be dope to find a fresh start elsewhere at locker cleanout day. I know it's a new regime, it's a new coach. Mike McDaniel is still the coach on that day and for 3 days, or going on to the 3rd day after that, before he got the axe from Stephen Ross. But so it is a new situation, but would you really want to pay that much for your backup quarterback? I think you just got to cut it loose, because now if you do keep him around, then that now is a mark on what Sullivan and Hafley are doing on the Dolphins. You take the huge dead cap hit and you get rid of him. That's out with the old. That's what Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel were doing here. So it would send a message like, this is the new Dolphins team. We are cleaning out all the dirty laundry from the previous regime.
Yep. And do you have any thoughts on the next major move? Austin Jackson, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Jason Sanders?
Yeah, it could be any of those. I mean, I guess we already hear some rumblings of a Minkah Fitzpatrick move that they're shopping him around, so he could be the next one. Tua. I mean, that could happen at any moment. But yeah, but I think if they find a trade partner for Tua, then that'll go down. But it might be tougher to find the trade partner for Tua, and then that's why you wait it out, see what kind of offer you can get, and then maybe it is then eventually a cut that you wait a while to finally see develop.
Yep. All right. So we didn't make the playoffs this week, but we will be back as a rebuilt Dolphins deep dive. We are rebuilding right now. Next week, we're making the playoffs. So we want to thank everybody for being with us, and we will see you next week as a playoff qualifying duo.